All right, guys. I'll give you a few minutes to kind of join in and see who decides to listen to the ramblings of a crazy chiropractor today. Just remember, always feel free to ask your questions, and we will get to them as quick as we can. And if you miss this, if you're watching the replay of this video, don't hesitate to shoot me a message or just tag underneath the video line, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Okay? So. Welcome to the purple room. This is my wonderful little 5-year-old daughter's room. They have overtaken the house, so figured this would probably be the quietest place because her room is pretty much the one place she doesn't go. All right, so today's topic, we're going to talk about to scale or not to scale. One of the really important questions that I run into in the clinic every single day. One of the things, as soon as we finish treating somebody, the patient will usually say, okay, what can I do? What am I cleared to do? What's going to make me worse? Is there something I can do to make myself better? These are all great questions, and I'm glad people are asking them because it gets them thinking about, what am I doing on a daily basis? It's not allowing me to heal. What am I doing on a daily basis that may actually be making this worse? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. The other side that we're going to talk about is the weight loss, getting active again, trying to get yourself back fit. Basically what I went through a little bit over a year ago. Just to give you guys some background, we've talked about weight loss, we've talked about that, but a lot of people don't realize that I have a thing called joint hypermobility syndrome. Basically, every joint in my body, most of them anyway, will fully dislocate on command. It's pain-free, so nobody freak out. It's basically just my ligaments and tendons and muscles are just way loose, and the shoulders will actually pop out of socket. This left one here will go both directions. It'll go up and down, which my orthopedic friends love that because it's not supposed to do that. But imagine doing some of the movements that I do in the gym if I hadn't scaled them appropriately. A lot of the people who finally got me into doing CrossFit for real, instead of just hit or miss, workout here, workout there, probably 5 workouts a year, and they were cherry picked big time. I always spouted the line to my patients: CrossFit is for anybody. Everything can be scaled. But then I wasn't living it. I wasn't deciding to make that an important part of my life. So when we finally made that decision, I had to go back and learn, what is scaling? What is a real scale for a lot of these movements? Because what I understood scaling as probably wasn't really what it should be. For example, because of the shoulders, I have major issues with anything overhead. Pressing weight overhead, 50 to 60% of my effort and my concentration is first on, don't let the shoulders fall out of socket. And then the other 50, 40% is push with some power, get the weight where we need it to be. So imagine trying to go in as a new CrossFitter, as a new power lifter, new weightlifter, new anything with exercise. Because even a new runner, my ankles, knees, and hips all do the same stuff. So no matter what activity I decide, I've got to pay attention. So imagine trying to push even just something as simple as a strict press, just going straight overhead. If I'm not paying attention to it, that shoulder drops, and we end up having major issues that can end up in tearing and other orthopedic visits. So what I wanted to talk about today was, how do we figure out what is appropriate? How do we figure out what to do in a real gym situation? So the biggest thing I try to tell my patients, number one, whether you have an injury or not, soreness is not a big issue. Tightness can be. If you do a certain workout a couple times a week and you start to see some pretty big tightness, tightness is kind of the precursor to pain. It's your body's way of saying, hey, I don't want to do this, and if you keep going, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to cause pain. So that's something that I really hammer home with every patient. If you get tight after a workout, you get tight during a workout, Wow, Lindsay, that's not fun at all. I don't like that much at all. Bless you. Um, if you get tight after a workout, or if you get tight during a workout, that movement is probably something that needs to be evaluated, scaled, and if it's causing pain, you definitely need to get looked at by a doctor of some kind to get it looked at. Um, but the big thing that people try and do is, well, I'll just take everything off. Well, that's also not the greatest thing either, because we need to be stabilizing those joints. We need to be giving you progressions that you can do. So, for example, today at the gym, the workout was squat snatch and handstand push-ups. As you can imagine, handstand push-ups, not the greatest thing I've ever thought of doing. Number one, strength-wise. Number two, it takes literally 90% of my effort to keep the shoulders in socket when I'm standing upside down, which is not a pretty sight, but that's beyond the point. So we start looking into different scales. The biggest thing is people are like, well, I'll just do push-ups, which that's great and that's fantastic, and that is an entry level scale. The problem is are you building the same motion? The same motion is what we're really striving for. I would almost rather see somebody doing a strict press with a barbell or with dumbbells or with something else like that for a scale for a handstand push-up than a push-up. I would rather see a pike push-up than something else. You know, we're looking for things that reproduce a similar motion. However, we're not looking for it to overly fatigue you to the point of strain injury, but we want to see you do the same type movement. So those pressing motions are really, really good. The same thing with the squat snatch. A lot of people have a problem, me included, dropping down into the bottom of a squat while catching weight with a snatch or a clean or any of those motions. So what we're looking to do, you can substitute a power. If you can drop the weight to a significant point, drop it to a power movement, so you're not having to bottom out and worry about your knees or worry about something else until you can build that range of motion and build that strength at the bottom. Each of these things, the reason that I wanted to bring this up is because we have Murph coming up on Monday. That's awesome. That's great. I have only done half Murph. I'm really excited about getting the chance to do full Murph and actually being fit enough to actually try it. So what we're talking about is body weight movements. And everybody goes, oh man, that's body weight. That's great. I can do that. Most people can, but there's a lot of people that have issues with push-ups. There's a lot of people with hitting depth on squats. There's a lot of people that have issues with pull-ups. There's a lot of people that can't run, just flat out. So we have to figure out what is an appropriate scale. And sometimes scaling is not changing the movement. This is something that I've had a very long discussion with my wife. She's going to try a version of Murph on Monday for the first time, and she's terrified. But I promised her that we would find something that works for her. So the big one that we're going to do is we're going to go quarter Murph. Sometimes you don't have to change the movement. Sometimes you just have to scale the reps. You can change it to box squats. You can change it to jumping pull-ups. You can change it to ring rows. You can change it to all these things. But if somebody has the ability to do some pull-ups with a band, if they have the ability to do an air squat, do we really need to change it from an air squat? Do we need to change it from a push-up? So if they have the ability to do it, let's knock the reps down. Let them kind of fight through those movements if they're stable and they're strong, and really see where we can go with it. So if somebody comes in and they're not quite ready to do a full Murph setup, take a look, watch their movement, and see, can this person potentially do a half Murph? Can this person potentially do quarter Murph? Can somebody do quarter Murph plus push-ups on their knees? Scaling is not an evil word at all. There is zero chance I would be where I am now if I had not dropped my ego at the door and been okay with a 110-pound girl hitting higher weight than me. I tell my patients this every single day. The quickest way to an injury is letting your ego get in the way. If you walk into a gym with an ego, I can all but guarantee you that you are going to leave with some kind of injury. And then you end up in my office, you end up in orthopedics office, and that's, while I'm happy to help you, and I will in a heartbeat, my primary passion, I would much rather prevent 10 injuries and C1 than the other way around. All right. So with all that being said, kind of long-winded, but just wanted to bring up some ideas. You don't have to scale movement all the time. Sometimes you can scale reps, but when you are scaling movement, try to find one that matches up with what your main goal is. If you're pressing weight overhead, find a way to press weight overhead. If you're doing a pushing motion, do a pushing motion. If you're doing squats, break out the box. The box can be a great tool because not only does it teach you how to hit depth, but also catches you if something was to happen, but it also increases the ability for you to do a proper hip hinge, which protects your back, which is fantastic because every chiropractor wants to save your back, right? I know I do. So, if you have any questions on this, please don't hesitate to write out to me. These are very, very important issues that we have to discuss, but that doesn't mean they have to be boring or crazy. Let's just get to the bottom of some of these misconceptions and get to the bottom of some of these things that we can do to protect ourselves, protect our family, protect our members at our gyms. So thanks for listening to the ramblings of me again, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and hope you learned something. So look forward to talking to y'all later, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to PM me or just comment on this video. Have a great night, guys. Bye.